Good evening, Mr. Hernandez. It's a pleasure to say hello to you. I am going to discuss the key ideas that have been found in the paper we've read concerning the variables that influence on successful learning and the learner themselves. And I'll first address how the aspect of aptitude has been viewed throughout the last decades. Then I'll discuss how different learning styles and strategies have been considered by different authors. I'll also show an interesting concept called pigeonholing. Then I'll describe the importance of training learners to adapt learning strategies. Then I'll talk about the important role of motivation for successful learning. And finally, how limiting it is to make lists of learning characteristics, since it reduces the whole richness and complexity of learners. Well, to start, it is worth to mention that during the Cold War, pedagogists considered that it was not worth it to waste resources on teaching English to individuals who were simply not ready or did not have the aptitude for that. However, such an approach was so practical, and it really did not consider the innate motivation students had. The innate aptitude students had. Later, experts decided that it was best to consider aptitude as a concept independent from previous learning experiences. And that was because learning experiences influenced students' aptitude. That means that if students have learned, say, with the grammar translation method, then they would struggle or fail when listening to an audio recording. Also, we could say that students who were exposed to the audiolingual method would fail to understand grammar structures. So experts decided not to take that into account, but to consider aptitude as an independent factor from previous learning experiences. And later in time, and that is what I will discuss later, motivation was another key factor that got intertwined with aptitude. And as I said, I will later discuss that. On the other hand, throughout the years, different authors provided long and complex lists of what it means to be a good learner. And the most important factors were to let learners have an active role and make their own decisions on how to learn. That implied that they had to be aware of their own learning strategies. However, making lists of successful learning features really limited and reduced the whole complexity and richness of what it means to be a good learner. Third, authors also proposed lists of different learning styles. It is common to believe that we have an innate learning style. However, actual science doesn't back up such an idea. But it is true to say that we do have a preferred learning style. And as a consequence, experts have developed different strategies for different learning styles. Now, doing so have brought the habit of choosing certain strategies for certain preferred learning styles. So that means to teach differently to different groups of learners depending on their preferred learning style. That is what is known as pigeonholing, which may be kind of problematic because it consumes a lot of time and it demands a lot of preparation from the teacher, but it also has its positive side because it makes learning more personalized and tailored for the students' needs and preferences. Plus, the paper discusses the importance of train learners to use strategies more effectively. There are learners who are aware of their learning strategies. There are others that may be aware of them, but prefer not to apply those strategies in the classroom because of feeling fearful to be wrong in front of their peers, and therefore feel a sensation of humiliation. And that is because the nature of the classroom is intrinsically social. And that is why it is a teacher's duty to encourage learners to apply those strategies and to guide them through that process. Also, a modern factor that influences in successful learning strategy, I say modern because it has been during the recent decades brought onto the table, is motivation. And that is influenced by the social context, by how the family relates to the student's own learning, by the economic and social situation of the learner, by how he or she interrelates with his or her peers. The author proposes that there are two kinds of learners concerning their motivation. Integrative learners who seek social benefits from learning, such as getting to interact and communicate his or her ideas, and therefore be integrated in a community. And instrumental learners who want to learn a language for a material reason, such as getting a job or studying at college. Now, a key idea here is that motivation can be socialized and influenced by the strategies that the teacher applies, and therefore it can boost learning. And that is why, again, and this is a key idea throughout the paper, the nature of the classroom is intrinsically sociable. And to finish, it is true to say that even though making long lists of learning styles and correspondence strategies is practical for teachers to be informed and choose out of them, they actually do not meet the actual complexity and richness of learners, because they limit all that to a bunch of lists. And that is what experts should not do. As a teacher, I found this paper really profound, because it has made me reflect on the importance of me getting to know how my students like to learn, to get to know how aware they are of their own strategies. It has made me thought of the importance of metacognition, which implies having students thinking on their own cognitive processes throughout the lesson, and make them self-assess themselves with certain techniques, such as using can-do statements, and therefore suggesting them what they can do next to improve what they can already do. Thanks a lot, Mr. Fernandez. This is everything about learner variables and the learner.